Hey, what's up, guys? I just want to do a follow-up video to the recent news on Project L. Super excited about it, but I felt bad for Amir because he kind of was left out here. Because the last time me and Amir covered this game, we had like no content. It was like 7 seconds, and we savagely did like a 30, 40 minute video on just like the hut and stuff. It was funny, man.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just so much to talk about.
Yeah, dude, I'm super excited for it. So the main thing I want to talk about with you, Mira, actually, is the entire because the news is mostly about them getting ready to play test the game, and people to get their hands on it, outsiders to get their hands on it. But
Yeah.
the interesting part is that they're targeting basically random people that play like random Riot games, any of their Riot games, right? And it
hmm
seems to be anything like from Valorant, right, to Runeterra or Teamfight, all that, or League especially, but they're not targeting people like deep in the FGC, at least that we know of, right? It's just from the surveys alone. So what do you think about them targeting those players first, like in general? That's what I want to know.
I think it's important for them to understand whether or not the product that they're developing is suitable for people that play their games, right? Because I think they are at least somewhat confident that the FGC would be interested in a fighting game, right?
Hmm.
Like they're kind of like giving that for granted. And the majority of their audience is from, the people that are loyal to them, right? They play their games, they play League of Legends, Wild, Valorant, and what have you, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, I think as a company, they want to be sure that their game will be interesting to those audiences, and that's why they're flying. Well, maybe not flying out those people, like at least asking them
Yeah, we
to
know they're
show up
like in
and
the
test
LA
the game.
area. It's
Mhm.
weird though, Mir, because like I was talking about before, is that when Valorant was having like their testing, they were specifically targeting like pro players, like Counter Strike players
Yeah,
and such. So it's interesting. Well, I guess Valorant is like from the ground up, it's built to be like this super competitive game. So obviously they need competitive players. But Project L is definitely going to be competitive in some way, right? Because it is a fighting game, and
hmm
so it's just weird that they're doing it differently this time, right? With the custom, I guess because fighting games are just a different beast. Because anyone can kind of just pick up and play an FPS. It doesn't really matter what level you're at. The concept is really easy to understand, but a fighting game is different. I guess they want to see like, can these people like hang or just like pick it
yeah.
up and start to play? You know?
No, exactly. I think that's what it's about. It's about understanding whether or not the game is accessible and intuitive to someone that doesn't know fighting games.
Right. Like I'm
Because
assuming
most
too,
of the
it's gonna be played
people
on keyboard. Like that's gonna be from the
Yeah,
ground
most
up.
of the people that will come into this game to play it, like they will be people that are not used to fighting games. Because I mean, let's face it, as much as we like fighting games, the community is so tiny compared to like literally everything else.
It is
So
pretty tiny.
obviously, the majority of the people that are going to come in, they won't know what to start with or to start from rather, because they haven't played fighting games before. So
Right. I you know
it's important for them to get that right. Like, because obviously if you get a bad first impression, like people might be scared to try it again, and they don't want that.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, they need that base, like foundation player base as huge as possible. Another thing too, and like you said, the FGC is quite small in comparison to other communities, but the amount of players playing just like League of Legends is so insane, right? I think the player base is bigger than even Fortnite. It's huge, but
Yeah,
if they can just tap into just even 1%, just 1% of that market would be insane. The amount of players. And so I think it's really important, like you said, because this game has been in the oven for a really long time, man. Like a really long time. And I'm also surprised, like I said, that Riot had the balls to use their League IP, because even a game like Valorant, it doesn't take place in like, the League world, right? Or use the characters. But this
yeah,
game does. It does. So it's just interesting to see, like they're gonna go all out with it, right? They're gonna use everything they can to suck players in to play it. You know, like not
yeah.
just trying to start over, because it's really hard. Like I said, it's really hard for anyone that's not one of these top like Japanese developers to get in, and start like a fighting game. There's a lot
hmm
of things that you need to get right, and just how the game visually looks. I think it's just really demanding for some reason for fighting games compared to others. You know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Especially when the roster is going to be obviously more limited compared to like League of Legends, especially immediately as it comes out. We've already seen in Valorant that the number of agents that they had at the beginning was quite small. So even for this fighting game, I don't expect them to have a lot of characters, especially when the game first releases. I think they're gonna, like roll out the characters slowly and see how people adapt to the game first.
Yeah, yeah, which is too
So
bad,
obviously,
man. I really wanted the game to be like this big team game, like 3v3, and then you
yeah,
have to play with other players, so you have that true toxic experience. I think that'd be awesome here. That's
voice
too.
chat online.
Yeah,
But no,
yeah,
I
yeah.
was gonna say, I think like a big part of it is what you were saying, making that good first impression and making sure that what they have right now is polished, so that people are, like not just attracted to the gameplay, but to the visuals as well, right?
There's other ways too. They can get casual players too. It's not just like playing the game and being good at it. They can have single player content or things that they can
Hmm.
play with their friends, some type of PVE content with it, or they can
Yeah,
also have kind of like cross progression content where you do something in Project L and you earn stuff for other Riot games.
yeah,
That's a way to get
absolutely.
more players to check it out or have the incentive to try it out. I mean, they did that, even like Blizzard did that too with a lot of their games as well, to have that kind of
Yeah.
cross progression. That's another way they can get people to try it.
Yeah, if someone insults you in League of Legends or calls you a scrub, you can tell him 1v1 me in Project L.
Yeah, yeah. Or 1v1 me in Valorant. You can use the built-out
Yeah,
aim
exactly.
map. So yeah, it's I I'm kind of worried too, because like I still think no matter how simple you make a fighting game, even with one button specials and all that, I still think there's just that core fundamental aspect in a fighting game that is just still takes a lot of time for players to grasp. Because like when I was playing Fantasy Strike before Mirror, I'm just like destroying players, even though my moveset and all that is so limited, right? I have no dash, I have no crouching normals, but the simple concept of just throwing a fireball, and if they jump, I anti-air is just it's just too much for a lot of players in general, you
Mhm.
know?
But I feel like a lot of these concepts are not necessarily hard to understand. It's more like they are the product of experience, and these games are usually really bad at explaining these practical concepts,
Hmm.
right? Like a tutorial might be good at telling you how you do a combo or how you do your moves, but
Mhm.
they usually don't go into what actually is playing a fighting game, right?
Mm.
So if they manage to make a good tutorial, or at least have a maybe a series on some of their socials, like on YouTube, one of their channels or whatever, that
Yeah.
explains how to play fighting games, maybe with the help of, I don't know, like fighting game pro players and such. Maybe that's what will help people get into the game, because if you think about it, like League of Legends kind of had the same problem in the past, where it was pretty unintuitive to get into. Like at the end of the day, the game is very complicated,
Yeah,
but
it
because
is. It is. That's what's interesting.
because they kept building on it, and it became very, very popular, then they leveraged the fact that you would always have some friend that played the game before that could teach you.
Yeah.
Like one of the big things with League of Legends is that there's always someone that that plays the game that can help you get into it,
Right,
right?
because the
So
player
maybe
base
they're
is so
trying to
huge.
aim. Sorry.
Because the player base is so huge.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe they're aiming for something similar for Project L, where they want to get like a big player base at the beginning that they can expand over time.
Yeah. Yeah, because like I said, if you hop into League back in the day and you never played it and you have no one to introduce you to it, you got these rune pages, you got these skill trees, you're playing the game, you don't know what lane your character is supposed to play. You don't understand the items in the shop. You don't understand your
Yeah.
abilities, your opponent's abilities. There's so many legends. There's so many things, right? It's not as simple a game as people think, but just to jump in and just understand, okay, these are your abilities and you kind of learn from there. It's not as daunting as hopping into a fighting game and then somebody steamrolls you because you literally cannot defend yourself, right? It's just
Yeah.
that barrier of entry is so difficult for fighting games. So maybe this time around, now that players don't have to focus too much on learning how to do a core circle forward motion, right? Or pretzel
Mhm.
motion or whatever, that can be a little less daunting, because like I said, when I was trying to teach my brother Street Fighter 5, recently, and I'm trying to teach him to do a simple like medium confirm with Akuma, just crouching medium punch, standing medium kick. And I had to like my brother's pressing the buttons, and I had to just explain to him like, hey, it's a link, right? You can't just mash it out. And it was just
Yeah.
so it took so long just to get my brother started. I'm like, this is your B and B, this is your
Mhm.
basic combo. So I can see that being very discouraging for a lot of
Mhm.
people.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience myself. A friend of mine wanted to try out Guilty Gear, and I was teaching him like a very basic Gatling, and he would just do, would get like anxious while doing the combo, like almost as if, oh no, I'm going to drop it and press buttons too fast. And I had
Hmm.
to explain to him, no, you have to slow it down and
Yeah,
practice the timing.
right.
But it was like just so alien to him, like as a concept.
Mhm. Like I said, I as long as the focus of the game is not just winning, you have to win. That's like
Hmm.
the problem with Street Fighter 5 is like if you're losing in Street Fighter 5, you get nothing. You don't even get
Yeah.
fight money. You get nothing. It just feels bad, man, right? Like if the game wants you to win, but like the project out is so important for people to have these distractions, to not have to like that's not the bottom line. Playing with friends, learning together, but the bottom line, and if the player base is big enough, there will be a lot of there's gonna be a ton of casuals and beginners in general. So it's not just gonna be, just FGC monsters stomping on everybody,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's so important to get that part right. So I think like these in-game playtesting, they're gonna be asking a lot of questions, seeing how these players how they pick it up and the things that
Hmm.
they struggle with, right, with the game,
Yeah.
and hopefully they can get a lot of good suggestions. And I'm sure there's some FGC people in the LA area that probably did get invited that can give some feedback. But like I said, the team behind I'm confident, right, because these guys are really deep in the FGC and they can of course get feedback in general anyways. So it's not like Riot hired a team that has to make a fighting game. They don't know anything about fighting games. That's not the case at all.
Yeah.
So that's good too.
My big concern is that they would simplify the game too much to appeal to like the general audience. But what I mean with this is not making the game simple, but rather removing, how can I put it?
Like depth.
Basically, I'm afraid that the neutral is gonna be a mess, or there's not gonna be any neutral. Pretty much,
Oh,
that's what I'm trying to say.
oh. What do you mean by that? Like too much
Because
mobility?
it's like people don't like, or well, not people don't like. That's improper. A lot of beginners and people that try to get into fighting games, they tend to struggle to understand the concept of like playing neutral patiently. They always want to do stuff. They
Right.
always want to go in,
Yeah.
and they're playing lower ranks. You see jumping a lot, especially when people cannot end here and like there's crazy dashing and stuff, right? Like all those things.
Yeah.
So like I hope they are not going to make that too easy. Where you just do a special that's full screen and it puts you right in their face, and then all the people like,
Honestly, the game probably will be like that mirror now that you mentioned.
well, that's what I'm afraid of personally, because at the end of the day, like if they make combos simple, or if the combo system is not that in depth, I think I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
If it's a simpler fighting game, I don't mind
Yeah.
personally. It's mostly that I don't want it to be a very simple fighting game, and there's just Onga Bonga gonna do my special move in neutral. Like that's not fun. Personally, I wouldn't find it very
The
interesting
slower
if
you
it were
make
that way.
it, the more difficult it's going to be for casual players to pick it up, right? The slower
Yeah.
pace, the neutral. So, the thing is that a lot of these characters that they're going to add to this game, to translate them well into a fighting game, a lot of these characters are very mobile.
Hmm.
Like very mobile character. We already have Katarina, right? She's got her Shangpo. She's going to be teleporting
Yeah.
across the screen. She has the daggers, right? We already seen ADCs and such. Like there's gonna have to be mobility.
I
They're just
mean,
gonna have
there's
to be.
probably also going to be one button DPs, so obviously they're gonna balance it around that too.
Yeah, and with the balancing with like the one button moves is gonna be really interesting because it's gonna be easy to tweak because it's gonna be like not only do we have hitboxes and damage, right, and scaling things
Mhm.
to balance, but it's gonna be like, okay, we increased the cooldown of Jinx's fireball by 2.0 to 2.1 seconds. Weird adjustments like that will
Mhm.
be interesting too.
I mean,
So
not even that, but it's like it's much. easier to look at certain moves when you don't have to consider the motion, right? Like one of the reasons why DPs are very fast usually in Street Fighter is also because they have, that specific motion associated with them. If you look at, say, Ed or Falk that have, like simple inputs, reversals, they're all very slow because obviously they balance it,
Right.
because of the lack of the motion, right? So it's
Right.
something that might happen in this game as well. That
Yeah.
might be like, oh, this DP is too powerful. We can slow it down by 2 frames or whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
it's something more reasonable to say. It's almost as if you were artificially adding like a more complicated motion.
Yeah, you can't even autocorrect with those anti-airs, because they're so slow. So,
Yeah.
they're gonna have a problem with that, like I said, cooldown is one aspect they can use to help control that. But yeah, the autocorrect DP is definitely a big worry for a lot of people. Like if you jump over them, will the DP autocorrect and will it be too easy to defend yourself against people? They definitely
Yeah.
have a, a lot to work on that aspect. I just like I said, it's just thinking about these league heroes that they're going to add and the abilities they're going to have and try to translate them into a fighting game. I could just see it being very mobile. You look at Rising Thunder, and you look how that game is. It's very Street Fighter esque that game, but there's
Yeah.
still a lot of crazy things you can do. They have kind of a cancel system, right, where you can use
Hmm.
that to extend your combos and such. It wasn't that bare bones, and that was just the game getting started. It was in the beta. If
Yeah.
that game was still worked on now, it probably would have been, a lot crazier too. So you can kind of see the direction that they might go with the league game because we already seen like a lot of the animations from just that 7 seconds of footage or whatever. You can see there's like a lot of like anti-air grabbing attacks, right? Ground
Hmm.
fireballs. There's a lot of things from different fighting games. So we'll have to see. Maybe it won't be as casual as we think it is, but just the execution barrier. I'm sure that's one thing they're definitely looking at in general. Like if
Yeah.
this game has throws, like kick throws, that alone is very overwhelming for a casual player.
Also, character archetypes, because the rushdown character is popular, like both for new and older players.
Hmm.
But like, there's archetypes like grapplers and zoners that are problematic to implement, because
Hmm.
zoners are frustrating by design.
Hmm.
So I'm going to assume that they're going to try and make them, like less oppressive than might be in other games.
I mean,
And
they tried it with
grapplers
Street
do
Fighter
like
Five, dude. They tried it. All these
like
anti-fireball attacks, man. But I
yeah,
don't
and
know,
then some
dude.
characters don't
Like I
have
said,
them.
there's no way. Like it's not gonna frustrate players. If there is just a simple zoner character or a simple grapple character in this game, which there's definitely gonna be, it's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
be
absolutely.
frustrating. I can't
Dude,
I can't wait to
just
see
you
the
wait
salt mirror. I
until
can't wait.
just yeah, just you wait until Volibear SPDs you. It's gonna happen.
I know,
He's a
right?
bear too, so like it's perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Some
then you
poor
have, I
Teemo
don't even know
player.
who the zoner would be. I just hope that Singed is in the game so that I can run away all the time, and then I fling you in the corner and run to the other corner.
Okay,
Like
that's super toxic, bro.
that's
That's
all I.
super
Well,
toxic.
I mean, he's literally toxic as a design.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be hilarious, man. Either way, we just have to see if Riot is able to do like I said, what every developer is trying to do right now is trying to make your game accessible but
Yeah.
also competitive at the same time. And I think a lot has to do with the PVE content, right? And getting these players able to play and have fun immediately rather than going through the
Mhm.
stress of trying to do simple things in the game and getting spanked online basically.
Yeah.
But like I said, this has been in the oven for so many years, Mira. I'm sure they know what's going
Oh
on.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. They must have gone over all of this because if it is a concern for us
Yeah,
that barely know anything about these games, that or this game rather that has been developed, I'm sure that yeah, the developers have been over it so many times.
right, right. And like I said, like with the recent history of Riot now basically taking over the world in every single game genre right now, this will be their most difficult test yet. Can they make a competent fighting game, right? That will,
Hmm.
send a shockwave down the FGC and see, right, their style if it can work. I'm really, really curious, man. I think no doubt this game will be free to play, and we'll
Hmm.
see if they can keep up with, a ton of content with the
I
game.
think regardless, it's probably going to be the most popular fighting game just because Riot will try to keep it alive as much as they can.
Yeah, yeah, they will. Well, and if it fails, man,
The
then I mean
the
that's
important thing is to figure out whether or not Riot will be willing to say it's released and it's not successful, because it's too much like a fighting game.
hmm
I wonder if they will kind of like not phase it out, but more like rework it into something else as time goes on.
What do you
Also,
mean?
the other question is how close will it be to Super Smash Bros? Because that's the other one that a lot of people brought up, right? Because that's
I
like
mean,
a game
Smash
that
is
is
a
popular.
lot different though. It's a lot different. Like
Hmm.
the Smash, like to play Smash competitively, you have to strip down like 90% of its content. You know what I mean? You gotta
Yeah.
play on certain stages. There's no items. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
Nintendo is not trying to make it competitive, right? They're just
Yeah.
trying to make the game fun, and the community is the one that changes everything to make it competitive. This is
Hmm.
different. Where Riot is from the ground up, they want it to be competitive, and they want people to play it, and they're gonna listen to the community and try to make all the content that they're making work in the game. It's a
Yeah.
completely different thing. Smash is really popular for sure, but it's popular because of the characters and such in it, and the popularity as a first person, or sorry, first party Nintendo game. You know,
Yeah.
this is totally different.
Hmm.
This is like bringing in a giant IP into the fighting game genre and seeing if it can work and make it competitive, because that's just how they do. So there's gonna be a lot of content and the ways things work for other games such as FPS that they're gonna bring into for fighting games and see if it works that way. Because other developers have tried to copy some things, but they don't have it exactly right? Exactly the same. We still haven't seen like a true battle pass system, or content that comes on the regular, right? Or lots of skins that come on the regular, or most importantly, free to play on PC that's accessible on keyboard. These things
I
are,
was going to say the closest thing we got to constant updates like new costumes and stuff was probably Mortal Kombat 11,
yeah,
where every season you could get uh, like a unique character skin for playing and reaching certain ranks, right?
here,
I guess.
American developer, by the way. Just wanted to
Well,
point that
yeah.
out. Sorry. Wanted to point that
No,
out.
like 'cause obviously they understand how the world spins.
Yeah, I'm just wanted to point that out. So
So like that's probably the closest we've got, but I think Mortal Kombat maybe fell off a little bit competitively because it wasn't, like liked as much as previous entries. So maybe that didn't help uh kind of like show how successful it can be, like with this way of approaching it that we're saying, like
yeah,
battle passes and constant content and such.
yeah,
So hopefully Project L will be successful and they will implement all of this.
yeah. I mean,
Also loot boxes for
it's like you
sure.
said, it's the whole like get your friend to play thing. That's really important. Like, hey man, I know you don't play fighting games, but check this out. It's free. I will teach you. And you
Hmm.
can get people started. That's
Yeah.
really important. You can't just be like, Street Fighter. It's like, hey, you want to play? Then you gotta pay. 20, 40 bones. I think Tekken's like still like 50 bones for me, right?
Hmm.
And they get in, and then you gotta teach them, the links and the combos and such. There's a lot. There's a lot, right?
Well, at
So
least like hopefully enough, Street Fighter 5 has Champion Edition, which is a great bundle for someone that wants to start now.
yeah.
But other games like Tekken is a great example of a game that it's really expensive if you want to get everything. Because I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure that they don't have an edition with everything. You have to buy every season pass separately,
Mhm.
and the characters are more expensive than other fighting games. So it actually is quite costly to get everything.
Mhm.
And it's not just bad for new people, but even like tournament organizers. Say you were like, oh, I want to have a local. Well, not that you'll be able to in this time and age, but say that you wanted to, right? You'd have to spend a pretty big amount of money to get Tekken on a console that you could use at your locals, right?
Mhm.
So that's another thing. While with um, a free to play game, it would be much easier
Yeah.
because it's free to play. So everyone could, you could make an account specifically for tournaments, and it'd be much easier to organize. I'm sure.
Mhm. Mayor, I just want to end this video by just saying that, like, there has just been no one really to push the other developers. No real
Yeah.
big competition. We make small humps every time a new game comes out. You know, small humps. We're just around the time now where we're starting to get the netcode right. We're still behind when it comes to crossplay. We're still behind when it comes to communication. We're still behind when it comes to frequent updates, right? And I just want this game to succeed because I want to finally, go from this little hump to like a giant mountain, and start a fire under everybody's asses to
Yeah.
really catch up with what's been going on with these other games, because League is esports. It's what started it. You know what I mean? It's what made it so huge, and they're gonna try. They're gonna try with fighting it. They're serious about it. So we have to see how it goes, man. Or it'll fail, and then yeah.
I was about to say, like, I can only hope that this is successful, so that maybe Valve will make a fighting game, and then I can
Oh,
chill for
Valve.
yeah, and then I can chill for a
Dude,
little
they still
bit.
gotta get the artifact working, man. Then they can
That's
think about a
true.
fighting game. What about Blizzard, man? Get Blizzard in there too, Mir.
I can only imagine a Warcraft
Yeah.
a Warcraft fighting game. Oh man.
That would be brutal. Okay, let's wrap this up here. Okay, guys, let us know in the comments below, what do you think about this whole take on Project Owl. You guys think they can succeed by making the game very accessible but still competitive? Let us know. And yeah, I'm sure we'll hear an update soon enough, Mir, before Evo shows up, and then we'll follow back up with you guys. All right, everyone. Take care. Peace out.